Hearing that nighttime commotion from your bed and knowing the local fox or owl just made a meal out of your best guinea fowl stands as one of the most frustrating experiences any homesteader faces out in the field. That stubborn habit they have of seeking out the highest branches at dusk, turning themselves into perfect silhouettes under the moonlight, serves your flock on a silver platter to every predator roaming the property. The reason behind this behavior goes beyond plain stubbornness. We've brought a species into our pastures that still pulses with the raw, untamed instincts of the open savanna. They retain an unbroken wild spirit that clashes against the docile nature of our traditional farm birds. That means you need a sharp management approach to tame their habits, keep them safe, and do it without losing your mind in the process. Let's begin. To understand these spotted birds, you first have to get inside their heads and see how they perceive danger in their daily environment. Guinea fowl are born with built-in biological wiring that warns them the ground is a high-risk zone at night, pushing them into the forest canopy to avoid ground predators. When the sun starts dropping below the horizon, that need to gain elevation turns into an uncontrollable urge that overpowers any comfort your standard wooden coop might offer them. They don't do this to rebel against your management routines. Their nervous system perceives the fading light as an immediate threat. This hardwired drive to seek out the tallest, thickest trees on the property is the very first barrier you've got to break down. Adding fuel to that survival instinct, these birds carry an extreme and hyper-vigilant temperament that can shatter the harmony of your barnyard. It only takes one single bird spotting something out of the ordinary, like a stray dog passing by or a weird shadow, for sheer panic to spread through the whole flock like a raging wildfire. That hyperactive behavior creates a collective stress wave that ruins the peace of your other animals, breaking up the resting and feeding routines inside the poultry house. Instead of walking into their pens at dusk, they prefer running in endless circles, letting out those trademark alarm calls that will deafen anyone standing nearby. This constant nervous energy acts as the main enemy of an efficient farm, forcing the seasoned breeder to rethink how they interact with the flock. The real solution for domesticating these birds lies in shaping their early learning period, taking full advantage of a practical field concept we call behavioral imprinting. During those critical first few weeks of life, guinea keets act like absolute sponges soaking up the daily dynamics around them, learning to survive through direct and continuous imitation. If you raise them isolated with just their own kind, they'll strengthen those wild habits and form a rebel group that ignores your routines. However, if we get them to copy the calm, domestic behaviors of other farm birds from the very first day they hatch, we can rewrite their future. This master assimilation strategy turns the natural stubbornness of the species into a predictable pattern, making your long-term flock management much easier out in the pastures. To ensure this imitation technique works, any experienced producer knows they need to select the best foster teachers available in the poultry yard. You can't just throw any common chicken there for this crucial job. We need standard breeds known for a docile, homebody temperament that keeps them close to home. You want heavy, grounded meat birds like the Sasso, which boast a much more robust and sturdy frame than your typical Rhode Island Reds, making them eager to head indoors the second the temperature drops. When you introduce these calm anchor birds alongside the wilder keets, you build an invaluable psychological tether. The young guineas view these steadfast chicks as natural flock leaders to follow, losing that overwhelming urge to run off into the brush when the afternoon sun fades. Setting up this mixed brooder requires careful attention to exact proportions to guarantee the peaceful influence dominates the pen from day one. The golden rule in the field dictates keeping a ratio where the common chicks outnumber, or at least equal the amount of guinea keets. If you throw too many of the wilder birds into the mix, their collective nervous energy will end up rubbing off on the calm chickens, ruining the whole purpose of this early bonding exercise. You have to ensure the brooder space stays wide enough and holds the right heat profile, never exceeding those crucial 95 degrees Fahrenheit during the first week. Letting both groups interact around the feeder and waterer under that shared heat source establishes a mutual trust that stays unbreakable into adulthood. As the weeks roll by, this shared rearing process achieves a massive breakthrough for your farm management. It shatters the natural barrier that usually keeps different species segregated. Under normal circumstances, mature guineas tend to form tight-knit squads that reject or bully any standard laying hen that crosses their foraging path. But by forging that strong social attachment early on inside the exact same controlled environment, those aggressive territorial instincts fade away into nothing. The spotted birds start seeing themselves as a direct extension of the traditional flock, sharing the very same pasture zones and responding to the same dinner calls. Getting them to walk side by side without trying to dominate your calmer layers stands as the ultimate proof that your mixed brooding strategy pays off on the homestead. All this hard work integrating them early on falls apart if you don't enforce a strict lockdown period during a critical stage of their physical and mental growth. It's a non-negotiable step to keep these young birds under a secure, closed roof for their first 6 to 8 weeks of life, without letting them set foot outside unsupervised. If you make the rookie mistake of opening those coop doors too soon, their intense explorer instinct and amazing early flying abilities will push them straight into the tall trees on your land. During this protective lockdown, the barn stamps itself onto their mental map as the only true shelter they have against harsh weather. That prolonged confinement routine ensures they view your solid infrastructure walls as an impenetrable fortress for survival. To lock in their nighttime loyalty to the indoors, you have to adapt the coop's interior to compete with the natural architecture of those massive oak or pine trees. That means tearing down standard setups and doing a deep modification of your roosting bars, installing wooden structures that sit much higher than standard laying perches, reaching 6.5 feet off the dirt floor. The thickness of this lumber must also mimic the sturdy branches found outside, allowing their feet to grip without losing balance while they sleep. Staggering these high perches prevents nasty territorial fights when bedtime rolls around, giving every single bird enough room to find its perfect spot. Providing an indoor layout that feeds their biological drive for elevation eliminates their best excuse to escape the pen. To outsmart the poor night vision that plagues guineas, the seasoned producer uses a beacon effect paired with a flawless door design. When the sun drops, these birds lose visual sharpness, sparking a panic that drives them toward the nearest tall tree. Your best move involves installing warm lighting inside the coop, set on a timer to click on during dusk as a visual magnet guiding them toward a secure entrance. But drawing them in doesn't mean anything if your gates create a stressful bottleneck for the flock. Standard chicken doors fall short for this job. You need to frame openings at least 3 feet wide, guaranteeing a continuous flow of bodies. Eliminating those physical choke points prevents massive trampling and ensures a smooth entry, free of the stress that usually ruins evening flock management and keeps you awake. Once you've got your infrastructure dialed in, true behavioral mastery comes through consistent auditory conditioning. From the moment they sit in the mixed brooder as keets, you have to associate a specific sound, like a sharp whistle or the rattle of a metal bucket, with the delivery of their absolute favorite treat. This call needs to be unmistakable and echo clearly across your entire property, becoming an unbreakable promise of a high-value reward for the flock's stomach. Repeating this exact routine every single evening wires the bird's brain to build a direct connection between your acoustic signal and nutritional satisfaction. You don't need to chase animals through the tall pasture grass anymore. A simple whistle makes the whole group stop foraging and sprint toward you, turning an exhausting chore into a streamlined routine that saves you serious time out in the fields. The real key to making sure that whistle never loses its pulling power comes down to picking the perfect incentive, and this is exactly where white millet steps into the picture. This specific seed acts as the ultimate high-value treat for a guinea's palate, triggering an almost frantic feeding response from the entire group. Its high caloric density and crunchy texture drive them wild, but the unbreakable rule dictates offering it exclusively during your evening call. Mixing this premium grain into their standard morning ration ruins your negotiating power when you need them to come back at dusk. They must understand that this specific delicacy is only available at the end of the day and straight from your hands. Keeping white millet as a restricted trophy guarantees their motivation to return overpowers any lingering wild instinct that pushes them toward the trees. This nutritional strategy leads straight into one of the most unbreakable rules for any successful homesteader. Evening feeding happens only inside closed facilities. If you make the mistake of tossing grain out in the open yard or right near the entryway, the guineas will eat fast and immediately resume their routine of hunting for high branches. The main course of the day, that irresistible feast of seeds, needs to be waiting for them in troughs at the very back of the coop. Forcing them to cross the threshold and step deep into the structure to get their reward reinforces the mental connection that the indoors means abundance and safety. Once the entire flock gathers under the warm light and starts tearing into their feed, you simply swing the doors shut behind them without causing any stress or triggering another chaotic stampede. When the time finally comes to open the doors to the outside world after weeks of initial confinement, your release protocol demands perfect timing. Those first few foraging trips shouldn't happen during the morning, since they'd have way too many daylight hours to wander off and claim territories outside your control. You must schedule the initial release just 1 hour before sunset, right when their biological clock starts telling them to find a secure spot to roost. They'll step out to explore the immediate corral area with caution, but hunger and the approaching darkness will limit their roaming range. Hearing your whistle offering the white millet ensures their return is fast and direct. Over the next few days, you can slowly push that release time forward, expanding their range without risking their return habit or sacrificing control. What happens when you inherit or purchase older birds that already carry that terrible habit of roosting in the natural canopy around your pastures? Fixing these rebellious birds requires patience and a firm physical intervention before they can pass their bad habits onto your disciplined flock. You have to wait until they climb up to their chosen branches and, using long-handled nets in total darkness, capture them while their poor night vision keeps them frozen in place. Once secured, the only way to reset that wild behavior involves subjecting them to a forced lockdown inside your adapted coop for an entire month. They can't get a single day of freedom until the roofed interior overwrites their memory of the outside trees. It's a tedious chore, but absolutely vital to lock in your farm's discipline and protect your investment. When you achieve this level of total behavioral control over the flock, you unlock the absolute greatest benefit of raising guineas, their imposing role as a biological alarm system. Their territorial and reactive nature turns them into the ultimate bodyguard for every other species roaming your pastures. They possess extraordinary visual and auditory capabilities during daylight hours, allowing them to spot ground predators or birds of prey from an impressive distance. The moment they detect the slightest threat creeping through the grass, they'll shatter the silence with a piercing sound that sends your standard chickens running for cover while instantly alerting your working dogs. This natural surveillance net operates without a break from sunrise to sunset, acting as a constant radar that keeps an eye on the sky and the tree line while you handle other chores with absolute peace of mind. From a financial and resource management standpoint, domesticating these rustic birds transforms the daily profitability of your homestead operation. Nighttime predation losses drop straight to zero the moment you secure the evening lockdown, protecting the hard-earned money you've invested in your flock. On top of that, their aggressive foraging habits lower the volume of commercial feed you need to buy to maintain their proper body condition. Their endless capacity to consume ticks, beetles, and harmful pests out in the pastures acts as a powerhouse for improving the overall health of your soil, directly benefiting any larger grazing animals sharing the land. Managing their behavior lets you enjoy all their rugged traits without paying the heavy cost of constantly replacing lost birds. The economic return hits your pocket immediately when you enforce a solid routine that respects their biological drives and keeps them firmly grounded. Locking these birds up at night inside a structured, elevated space does more than just prevent predation. It optimizes the square footage inside your facilities. Guineas naturally claim the highest roosting bars that your standard chickens ignore, allowing you to utilize the vertical volume of the coop without crowding the lower levels. This stratification of the resting area cuts down on territorial stress, since every species naturally respects its assigned elevation zone. Taking advantage of that overhead clearance allows you to increase your flock density without spending cash to construct new buildings or expand your current footprint. By organizing the spatial layout around the hardwired habits of each breed, you build a farm model engineered for high efficiency, where every inch of roofed space is maximized, pushing your overall productivity to its absolute limit year after year. Success in raising these fascinating birds doesn't depend on brute force, but rather on applied field psychology and your daily consistency. Understanding their biology, respecting their craving for height, and shaping their learning phase with calm foster hens stands as the ultimate formula for winning. We've covered the critical importance of adapting indoor roosts, setting up guided lighting, and mastering auditory conditioning with treats like white millet. You now have the solid foundation required to turn these skittish birds into the most efficient guardians your property has ever seen. True technical knowledge demands rigorous application out in the dirt every single day, so start adapting these practical strategies to your pens right now to witness a radical shift in how your entire spotted flock behaves during the twilight hours when predators are actively hunting. Upgrading your farm's management starts today with minor adjustments to your evening routine and immediate improvements to your coop structures. Let me know down in the comments which of these options makes the most sense for your setup. If you got some value out of this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so we can keep bringing you practical homesteading advice. Apply these methods with discipline, monitor how the flock responds to the new boundaries, and always maintain relentless consistency in every aspect of your daily chores out in the pastures where the real work happens. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.